Your homepage is usually the first impression any new prospect has with your business. Once they get there, you've got about 5 seconds to either capture their attention enough to keep them scrolling toward working with you, or lose them forever. So yeah, your homepage really is that important. But are you making a critical mistake that could lose you that client? In this video, I'm going to show you the biggest homepage mistakes I see over and over again on websites that can absolutely kill your chances. Not only that, but I'll show you the fix too. So if you apply what I'm going to show you here, you'll be able to successfully capture their attention, hold it, and if you play your cards right, impress them enough to win their business. Okay, so let's start right off the bat with capturing attention. So the first thing that anyone's going to see when they get to your website is usually this right here. It's called the hero section. And one of the worst, most damaging mistakes that I see over and over again is simply missing the point of the hero section. So what is the point of the hero section anyway? Well, it's really simple. All it needs to do is tell people what you do, why it matters, and what they need to do to get it. And when businesses get this section wrong, which let's face it, they almost always do, this can happen in any number of ways. So the first way I want to bring up here is it can just be super unclear what you actually do. Maybe the language you're using is overly vague, or like this, filled with techno jargon that nobody but you really gets. Like, look at this headline and subheadline here, and I challenge you to see if you have any idea what this company actually does. Or maybe you're like those businesses who fall into that SEO trap where you just keyword stuff your headline to death to the point where, sure, Google might pick up on it, but when actual human beings land here, you know who I mean. I'm talking about your clients. They're just left cold because nothing about this headline says anything to them. There's no benefit. There's no real reason they would want to work with you based on this. And another way the businesses miss the mark here is making the hero section all about them. Here's the thing, some harsh truth now. Nobody really cares yet about you or your business. They came to your website because they're hoping that you can help them solve some kind of a problem they have, not to read, that you're voted top dentist or you're award winning or anything like that. So how do we fix the hero section? I'm going to give you one really simple formula that works for any service business that you can use right now. And that's to use your main headline to simply state what you do, then use your sub-headline to briefly say how you improve your client's life. Doesn't have to be an earth-shattering improvement. This works if you solve any kind of problem for clients, whether it's a big life transformation or a smaller problem, high class, what I call champagne problems, or even emergencies. Just be really, really clear here, because not only will a confused mind not buy, it's actually even worse than that. If you confuse people at the top of your homepage, they're not going to scroll down to get clear on what you do. In other words, if you confuse them here, you will lose them here. Okay, so what is this actually going to look like in real life? Well, let's take our dentist example, who has the very business-centric, voted Philadelphia's top dentist 5 years running. What if we replace that using the formula I just gave you with modern dentistry with a smile, from routine cleanings and fillings to full mouth makeovers? We're here to keep your smile happy and healthy. See how this hits on all three things. Again, so what we're doing with this headline is we're saying exactly what we provide. Then here we talk about how that makes, in this case, their patients' lives better. Okay, so now it's time for mistake number 2, and that is using the wrong images on your website. So take a look at this one, for instance. We're still on our dentist example. We fixed the headline and subheadline, but the image still needs some work because this particular image is, again, very focused on the business. It's showing the dentist at work, not what the patient is going to experience after having worked with them. So this is one way it can go wrong. I see this a lot. Another way images can go wrong is by choosing stock images that are very cheesy. They're very overly posed. They show really unnatural emotions. Does it check the box of actually showing the aftermath that your client is going to experience? It does. It does show people meant to represent your clients, but in no way does this feel like a real moment in time that was captured. This feels very staged, very phony. So my fix for this is just to choose better stock images, choose smarter. So something like this is going to be much more of a slam dunk when it comes to connecting with people, because it feels like this is a real moment captured in time, right? Anytime you can choose a photo that feels more natural, it's automatically gonna connect that much better. And by the way, there are many places online where you can find photos like this. I actually recommend Adobe Stock, and you can just choose their free option. They have a ton of really amazing free stock photos that you can use, just like this one. And speaking of images, let's go on to mistake number 3, which is mismatching those images. So let's take a look at a little services section right here. You might notice that these 3 photos don't really look like they belong together, do they? This one has that kind of Instagram-y, filter on it. This one's black and white, and then this one's super colorful and vibrant. So all you really need to do is just make sure you're choosing images that look like they belong to the same family, whether that means choosing all from the same photographer, or just being really mindful of, okay, do they have the same vibrancy level? Do they have the same energy level, more or less? What I'll actually do a lot is if I find the photo I want to use that I know I want to use, I will actually just click through to that photographer's whole portfolio on the stock site and see what I can find within that. It's much more likely to match up if you do it that way. And if you're getting stock icons, you want to avoid style mismatches there too. So to be safe, just choose from the same icon pack. Okay, so time for our next mistake, which involves these call to action buttons. So here's the thing, when people are coming to your website, you want them to actually do something there, right? Like schedule a consultation or book an appointment or even just call you. Problem is when you make your call to action buttons confusing, like right here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 call to action buttons, and none of them say the same thing or look the same. And that's a big problem, and it's one that I see all the time. So what do we want to do instead? Well, the first thing you want to do is figure out exactly what you want your call to action button to say. Specifically, you want it to be specific. So we don't want something like get started or, book now is okay. But what we'd really rather have is something like book an appointment or book a free consultation, something that's very specific that tells them exactly what's happening next. And then once you've got the verbiage figured out, what you want to do is make all of your buttons incredibly consistent from one to the next. So that means you choose a color that goes with the rest of your website's branding, but also stands out. What I mean by that is you're not going to use your button color anywhere else on your entire website, okay? Let me say that again, because nobody ever listens to that advice when I give it. You don't want to use your button color on your logo or on your icons or in any design treatments on your website, just your button, and that's it. That's going to make it incredibly clear to people that this is the next step that they need to take if they want to work with you. And then ideally, you want to repeat that call to action in multiple points on your homepage to make sure that once they've gotten enough information and they're actually ready to click it, it's right there for them ready to go. Okay, so now it's time for our next mistake, and that is chaotic spacing. I cannot tell you how many times I see this. Anything from text being too close to the borders or buttons being too close to the content. And again, there's just not enough padding here for people's eyes to rest. Because here's the thing, if you don't leave any space anywhere, or if you leave too much space for that matter, people's eyes are gonna tend to wander, or they're just gonna feel overwhelmed and they're gonna get the heck out of there. So don't worry though, I'm gonna show you exactly how to fix it. So what you wanna do ideally is you wanna give it at least 80 pixels of padding inside of a section. So if you're using Elementor, you just go to padding and I'll just type in 80, and that already looks much better there. And then you want to give some breathing room for this button. So I'm just going to click that, go to advanced and padding. I'll give it, and I'll just zero out the margin and see what that looks like. That already looks better. Then we also need to give it a little bit of a margin on the bottom. So let's do 80 there. See how much more nice and breathable this already feels. And then I'll do the same thing right here. And that feels pretty nice already. Okay, so time for our next mistake, and that is not telling a complete story right there on your homepage. So many business owners, what they do is they make all these different pages. I've seen as many as like 50 different pages on a website, thinking people are gonna click through, they're gonna read all these different pages, they're gonna get what they want when they want it, which that is a double-edged sword, actually. What you don't want to do so much is let people wander around on your website on their own, because they're going to start coming up with their own story at that point. Once people start clicking all these other pages and they start wandering the woods on their own, now they're taken out of that path to conversion. So what I'd rather see you do is tell a much more complete story on your homepage from top to bottom. Now, if you want to know exactly how to do that, click right here, and you're going to want to register for my free on-demand masterclass. I'm going to show you exactly what needs to go on your homepage and all the other pages to really tell that story from start to finish, so that people get all the information they need in the right order in order to become a client. So click right here, and I'll see you there.